Good morning, students. This is class 10 science, lesson 6, life processes. In our last class, we have studied about types of respiration and flow chart of respiration. Today, we will study about respiration in plants. How does respiration takes place in plants? You all know like other living beings, plants also obtain energy by the process of respiration. Plants also get energy by the process of respiration. They do not have special respiratory organ because they have a source of oxygen in their body. Plants do not have special respiratory organs as they have a source of oxygen in their body. Plants produce oxygen during photosynthesis, which diffuse slowly into the neighboring cells. As you all know, that during the process of photosynthesis, plants produce oxygen, and this oxygen slowly diffuses into their neighboring cells. As a result, plants have low requirement of oxygen during the day as compared to animals, which depends solely on the atmosphere for the supply of oxygen. We animals depend solely on the atmosphere for the supply of oxygen, but plants have low requirement of oxygen during the day. But however, during night, where there is no photosynthesis, plant also takes in atmospheric oxygen for the process of respiration and release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. During the day, they get their oxygen requirement from by the process of photosynthesis, but during the night, they also take oxygen from the atmosphere and releases CO2 into the atmosphere. During the day, the carbon dioxide produced by plant in respiration is used up in photosynthesis. During the daytime, the CO2 which is produced during respiration is utilized in the process of photosynthesis. Respiration in plant differs from that of animal. Respiration in plants differs from that of oxygen in different respects. They say all parts of plants like roots, stem and leaf perform respiration individually. Different parts of the plant such as roots, stems, leaves perform respiration individually. There is little transport of gases from one part of the other to one part of the plant to the other. Transport of gases is very little, and rate of respiration in plant is much slower as compared to animals. Now we'll study about exchange of gases in plants. How does exchange of gases takes place in plants? As you can see on the screen, the roots of the plant carry out respiration with the help of root hair. See, this is root hair. This is root hair. These are air spaces and these are soil particles. The roots of the plant carry out respiration with the help of root hair. What are root hair? Root hair are unicellular delicate extensions of epidermal cells of the root. They are unicellular delicate extensions of the epidermal cells of the root. These are very thin and permeable to respiratory gases. These root hairs are very thin and permeable to respiratory gases. These extend into the air spaces between the soil particles. See, they are extending in the air particles between the soil particles. Oxygen present in the soil diffuses into the root hair and passes to the other cells along the higher concentration gradient. Oxygen which is present all over here passes into the root hair. Similarly, CO2 from the root cells move into the air. Similarly, carbon dioxide which is present over here moves out, oxygen moves in. If the soil is waterlogged, oxygen is not available. If the soil is waterlogged, what does waterlogging means? Excess of water. If the soil contains excess of water, then this exchange does not take place. Therefore, soil to be used for cultivation is often plowed to make it aerated. Soil is often aerated. Then Root hairs are not present in the mature regions of the root. Hairs are present only in the delicate parts of the root. In the matured regions of the roots, root hair not present. Instead, there is a protective layer of dead cells which contain tiny openings known as lenticels. Tiny openings known as lenticels. See, respiration is a continuous process that takes place in plants throughout day and night. Photosynthesis, gas exchange occurs in the daytime in the presence of sunlight and oxygen. Photosynthesis requires the plant to have a proper supply of CO2 to produce oxygen, water, and energy that is required in the plants. Just like the process of exchange of gases takes place through the lungs in animal, the plants have stomata to take out this process. The exchange in plants takes place through stomata and the process is termed as diffusion. The process is termed as diffusion. The stomata are found in the aerial plants and not in the roots. Stomata are found only in the aerial parts of the plant such as leaves. Epidermal cells present in the stomata surrounding the guard cells of the stroma are called subsidiary cells. The guard cells are living cells and contain chloroplast. These cells contain more protoplasm than the other cells. The stomata cells are found on the dicotyledonous leaves and they are arranged parallel in case of monocotyledons. A higher concentration of stomata cell is found towards the lower epidermis or lower surface of the leaf. It means to say that more stomata present on the lower epidermis of the leaf. How does exchange of gases takes place in plants? In plants, the exchange of gases takes place through stomata. In plants, exchange of gases takes place through stomata. Each of the stomata is surrounded by two guard cells and these cells contain chloroplast. Guard cells contain chloroplast. A respiratory opening is found under each stoma and the process of opening and closing of stomata depends on the presence of sugar and starch in the guard cells. The process of opening and closing of stomata depends on the presence of sugar and starch in the guard cells. In the daylight, the guard cells of the stomata contain sugar synthesized by the chloroplast present in them. The sugar is soluble and it increases the concentration of the sap present in the guard cells. As the concentration becomes higher, the water from the neighboring cells come into the guard cells by osmosis and they become turgid. They become turgid. Because of this, the stomata remain open during the daytime. In the absence of light, the sugar present in the guard cells converts into starch. The starch is insoluble and thus the sap of the guard cells remains of much lower concentration than the neighboring cells and these cells take out water from the guard cells by osmosis, making the stomata to stay closed. So during the daytime, stomata remain open and during the night, the guard cells become flaccid, so the stomata close. Now, this is how exchange of gases takes place in leaves. In roots we have studied. Now we'll study how does this exchange of gases takes place in stems. The stems of woody plants have breathing pores in their bark. The stems of woody plants have breathing pores in their bark and these breathing pores are known as lenticels. 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 A lenticel consists of loosely arranged, thin-walled, rounded cells which intercellular spaces for exchange of gases. The water lenticels. Lenticels are loosely arranged, thin-walled, rounded cells with intercellular spaces for exchange of gases. Oxygen from the air get diffuses through the lenticels and reaches the inner cells of the stems for respiration. Similarly, CO2 produced as a result of respiration diffuses out through the lenticels into the air. So this is how respiration takes place in roots of the plant, in leaves of the plant, and in stems. Now, all the respiratory organs have some common features. See, all respiratory organs have thin walls for easy diffusion and exchange of respiratory gases. All respiratory organs have thin walls for easy diffusion and exchange of respiratory gases. The second is they have a large surface area to get enough oxygen. All respiratory surface have large surface areas. You see, there are so many leaves in a plant, and our lungs also, they are very thin, and if we stretch a lung 80 meters, it will stretch up to 80 meters. So the large respiratory or large surface area for to get oxygen, and they are well supplied with blood vessels. In human beings, they are richly supplied with blood vessels. In and not in human beings, in all the animals, it is richly supplied with uh, blood vessels. So three important features: all respiratory surfaces, rich supply of blood vessels, large surface area, and thin walls, cells which have very thin walls for the exchange of gases. So I hope you have understood how does exchange of gases or how does respiration takes place in plants. In the next class, we will study about the human respiratory system. Thank you and have a nice day.